Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriela Bechara Zillig. I'm a UX designer from São Paulo, Brazil, one of the organizers of this year Talk UX, and a volunteer at Ladies.UX. For accessibility, I'm going to describe myself. My skin is white, bluish eyes. My hair is a darker shade of blonde, medium and straight length. I'm wearing a black jacket, black shirt with some white graphics and a gray headphone. In my background, there is two small half moons on each side, hanging in a purple wall. The lecture that we're going to see now is Leading Growth-Driven Design Levers for Sustained Growth. Empowering the customer pact for a high business impact. Growing your product, business, or idea is about adding value for your customers and how your offering makes them feel. Building a product is not the same as growing the product. How might we lead design for product-led growth? Our speaker is from San Mateo, California, United States, Chetana Deorah, Director of Product Design. She is a leader and mentor who helps empower human-centered design to achieve high-impact business goals. Currently, she's a designer director at Coursera, online learning platform focusing on customer growth and discovery. She has held leadership roles at Netflix. She led product design for a global acquisition and growth with a focus on emerging markets. And prior to that, she was at Yahoo, Scribd, Betfair, Pivotal Labs, and Pentagram. As an Indian American, Chetana brings a rich diversity of ideas and influence, fostering a culture of product innovation, inclusion, compassionate leadership, and effective communication. When not building digital experience, she volunteers her time in design education with Interact Project and DesignLab. So welcome, Chetana.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. What a humbling introduction. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for opening up time, your agenda for us.
Sure thing. So, would you like me to visually introduce myself?
Yes, please.
Sure thing. So here I am in what is still sunny California, close to San Francisco. And I am your brown-skinned girl with dark black hair and dark eyes, wearing a maroon full-sleeve top. And my background is pretty much a white wall with a poster that shows 101 yoga poses, because I happen to also be a yoga teacher. And I'm really honored and glad to be here with Talk UX. Thank you.
So now I'm going to leave you with your presentation. So see you guys soon.
Sounds good. I will move to presentation mode. And this is very interesting, my esteemed audience, because I can't really see you. I'm going to try and connect and hopefully touch a chord with each of you wherever you are. So thank you so much for taking the time to join me. For some of you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. And wow, what a small world this remote setup makes for us. I also want to really thank Gabriela and all the others at Ladies.UX for the hard work they've been doing, really trying to connect us across oceans and across technology, bringing what is beyond any limitations that remoteness can create. So thank you. So the topic today is something that might be new for some of you, Something that I'm hoping as I share with you my stories, you might realize, oh my God, Chetana, I've been doing product-led growth as a PM or a designer at this particular job in the past, and I didn't know it was called that. So there may be different takeaways each of you have from this sharing. My focus today is on product-led growth design, which is user experience design, human-centered design, and also sharing with you as a design leader, what are some of the nuances when you're leading a design team that is solving for the growth of a business or the growth of a product, as opposed to creating a product from the ground up, so like a startup. And I will not be talking about the techniques for A/B testing, experimentation. I also won't be talking about growth marketing, which is probably something most of us are more familiar with when we are designing landing pages, emails, ad campaigns, social media. That is a partnership that a product-led growth team has with marketing team. So that's just to give you an idea of what you should expect in terms of the content for this afternoon. But first things first. My name is Chetana, and what you're seeing on the slide here is how my name is pronounced phonetically. With the 3 syllables in English, it can get tricky, but the scripture that you're seeing below the English is how my name is said in Hindi. It is a word in my mother tongue, and I was just sharing with Gabriela while we were doing the tech check that my name means awareness or consciousness. I'm currently design director for growth in consumer at an online learning or education company called Coursera, and we are based in the Silicon Valley. I am originally from the hustle and bustle of Mumbai city, which you can see here on my slide. And almost 20 years ago, I came to the SF Bay Area to do my master's in graphic design. And ever since, I have grown and learned and been here. I always say, for me, it's really important to live by the water. So either it's the Arabian Sea by Mumbai or then the Pacific Ocean in San Francisco. So let's jump into a little bit about my career trajectory and how it connects to me giving this talk today. As a growth practitioner, for any of you who is leading the growth of your products or your businesses, I'm often asked this question, especially for young designers, should I pursue a career in growth design? What is it about? Why is it different? What are the skill sets that are needed? And so to answer this question, I reflected back on my own career, which started after a graphic designer at Pentagram. I was at Yahoo for 7 years. And then right before Coursera, I was at Netflix for a little less than 2 years. And today, I've been able to connect the dots backward in terms of my career pathway. And it looks like I might have been cultivating an aptitude or a mindset for product-led growth for almost 10 years out of the 20 years that I've been here. Quite surprising. So at Yahoo, I led what is called product marketing design. We worked very closely with the advertising agency that helped us promote the Yahoo search, the Yahoo Mail features that the product team was coming up with or launching. Fast forward, after Yahoo, I chose to lead product design at smallest startups in San Francisco, one of which was Scribd. It's a digital reading subscription app. And my role as VP of design was to lead the end-to-end UX experience for the Scribd product on web, the iOS, Android apps, and mobile web. I also brought in qualitative research, addressed the brand design, and eventually also led the growth design for Scribd, because Scribd had a very huge traffic of audiences coming to the product, but it did have a problem with churn or retention. And so my team did have to start solving design problems to make sure that the traffic that we were getting was also going to engage with us and sign up for our subscription. And last but not the least, I'm assuming many of you in the audience today are familiar with Netflix. My role in Netflix was really about me wanting to grow deeper in my leadership experience and be challenged as a leader. I also wanted to be part of a larger design community, which I got to do at Netflix. And my charter at Netflix was about leading acquisition and growth for a global user base. As you can imagine, for those of us who are binge watchers on specific shows on Netflix, what draws you to the show is the content. If you're in a Latin country or in EMEA or in APAC, you're going to be a subscriber for Netflix because it gives you the stories you want to watch. The time at which I inherited a team, Netflix has been doing very well in most of the continents, but in Japan, Korea, and India, we did have some questions that were unanswered. And so I led the initiative to understand what Netflix needs to do so that it can have engagement and have retention for the markets in Japan, Korea, and India. At the bottom right, the graphic that you're seeing is the areas of responsibility that I had as a design director for acquisition and growth at Netflix. It included strategies for how to grow the audience base, how to create the experience for sign-up, registration, what are the different payment methods and partnerships that Netflix has globally. And then once we get the new members into the Netflix experience, what does the onboarding look like? What does the first-time user experience look like? So these 4 areas were part of my team's charter, and we worked very closely with the acquisition marketing team and the messaging team, which included emails, landing pages, notifications. And from Netflix, as I mentioned, now I'm with Coursera, where I say this often in terms of my career path. At Scribd, I was happily getting the world to binge read. At Netflix, for some time we spoke about binge watching, although we realize entertainment should have its own space. And now at Coursera, I am humbled and honored to be helping the world binge learn. So let's dive into the basic question. When we see this word growth, and especially given the current world and economic situation, what are some of the things that come to your mind? What comes to your mind with regards to our business, our products, and our customers? And I'm going to ask for Gabriela's help for you all to type in the chat, what are some of the words that come to your mind when you hear the word growth? And I may just have to come out of presentation mode in case you're sharing. I'm not sure if the question has reached all of you or if I'm not able to see your responses. Well, in the absence of not knowing where our dialogue is going, I will continue. So the word growth can be pretty broad, and in the context of our talk today, from a product-led growth point of view, all of these words may have come your way in terms of acquisition, retention, growth hacking, growth marketing, the monetization, payment methods, being data-informed, being data-driven. All of these things are true about product-led growth. It does empower the experience of the product and the value that it provides as a key driver for business growth. And we also do need to recognize in terms of user experience design for growth that the customer knows best. I also want to pause and acknowledge that I'm giving this talk right now in 2020 at a time when we are in the middle of a pandemic. And one could wonder, how is it that Chetana is even talking about growth? The truth is, for some of us, some of our organizations and some of the places where we are working or the businesses we are running, they are growing because of the situation we are in with the pandemic. And as you can see in this graph, the top 10 fastest growing e-commerce categories today happen to be things that the world needs in the midst of a pandemic. From disposable gloves to cough medicine to packaged foods, having to create a gym in your home, having to cook more by yourself. And then at the same time, there are those businesses that are fast declining. And as we all know, 2021 therefore is set up for some innovative possibilities for where customer experiences and product-led growth is headed. So some of the businesses that are declining right now, luggage and briefcases, no surprise with travel being really hit, or celebratory events with bridal wear. Certainly can't go to any public spaces, and so lesser use for gym bags. This is just a snapshot of a graphic that was relevant, that was put together in March 2020, and the sources here are from Amazon, Business Insider, Euronews. I just wanted to call out that product-led growth is a go-to-market strategy that leverages the product itself in order to connect the customers to the business and keep them engaged. And it does have a role to play whether the business is thriving and booming or the business is declining because of certain period or phase in time. So this is just calling out the various categories or areas that have been impacted by COVID. I already addressed those. And I now want to just share with you all my high level or in a nutshell version of what growth user experience design means to me. And the way I have understood it in my years of leading design for growth and coming from a UX background is growth is about connecting you and me, our customers, to the value of the product, giving our customers the reasons to believe in what it is that our product can do for them. At its very core, in a sense, this is what the role of any product designer on growth is. How might I connect the value of a specific product, business, or idea to improve or make a difference in my customer's life? And the subsequent takeaway from that, or the subsequent impact of that, is subscriber growth and revenue, not the other way around. Some of you may be aware of this funnel graphic. It has been credited to Dave McClure, one of the individuals known in the growth community. So within product-led growth, there are various stages or milestones that a product team could be addressing, right from how do you acquire your customers, how do you activate them, what are the strategies to make sure that they're engaged, how do we monetize our product, and then how do we continue building equity in our product. Now, these words here in the graph may seem very daunting, and they may seem very technical and geeky. So I like to think about these areas in terms of the users, the customers, and the user experience. So some of the questions that I ask my designers to consider is, for this particular product, how do users find you? For example, if it's a ride-sharing service or a food delivery service, what are the ways in which people are going to learn about this ride-sharing service? If it's an online learning platform, who are the people that are going to be most interested in learning online, and what age group or what profile do they belong to? The second would be, do users have a great first impression or experience with the product? Do they understand what the product is about and what the product is not about? Do the users come back, and what is it that's going to incentivize them to come back? Then we can ask, how does this product justify making money because of the value it's giving to its customers? And last but not least, are the customers telling other customers because they're so fulfilled and satisfied with what this product is doing for their well-being? So this is just a framework in which you can think about product-led growth within the realm of key motivations and needs for a customer. I will take us a little bit back in time here in terms of the history of growth. So growth has not been around for too long, as opposed to, let's say, graphic design or advertising, or even just software development. Way back in 2009, at least in the Silicon Valley, San Francisco Bay Area, this notion of product-led growth started taking traction. And you can see here in this image that a dear growth friend of mine, Lex Roman, brought to my attention that in 2009, the growth teams included, excuse me, a product manager, engineers, and then the marketing lead. And they together would create this triad for defining growth hacking or defining growth bets that they wanted to take. Design was not part of this challenge or part of this equation. And today, if you fast forward in 2020, and if you even look at LinkedIn and do a search for product designer for growth or even design director for growth, design does have a strategic role to play on growth teams. There are more opportunities for individual contributors and leadership roles on growth teams than ever before. And we happen to be at a time where more women are designing and leading growth initiatives, speaking out on metrics and honing in on customer motivation, which also to me is really an honor and humbling experience to share this talk as part of Ladies That UX. So today, design does have a seat at the table. And my question as part of this talk with y'all is, what are we going to do with this seat? How are we going to fully evangelize the potential of human-centered design and look into the role it can play in becoming a core competency for your business? With that, let's dive into a case study. So this case study is me sharing with you an experience that I led with my team at Netflix, and I would like to talk to you about the role of human-centered design in driving growth outcomes. As I mentioned earlier, assuming many of us in the audience are familiar with Netflix or maybe even are Netflix subscribers, I'm going to jump right in with what was the business problem that we were solving with this initiative, and growth solves, and what is the type of growth area that we were focusing on. So this screenshot that you see here, I'd be curious if this was a live conference to get a sense from you all on how many of you recall seeing this page, because this is the logged out experience for Netflix, and growth often tends to solve for the forgotten areas of the product experience, because once you log in and you become a member, you rarely ever log out from certain products and experiences that you use on a recurring basis. So if you look at this logged out homepage, there is a primary call to action, which is the big red button, and it says watch free for 30 days. This logged out homepage served Netflix very well in the initial years as Netflix went global in 2014. Netflix has been very disciplined about being a single product, single code base, even a single team headquartered in California. However, as I mentioned, the time around which I joined the company, we really were open to asking this question: how might we capture the audience and markets in APAC when Netflix needs to grow? What is unique and different about the culture and the lifestyle of the people in these countries in terms of entertainment? So let's dive into what we did. So it would be fair to say that we all love free trials. You've often seen free this, free that, times of the holidays, times that has seasonal promotions and what have you. Very often our marketing team is partnering with us on the product team to help us with these campaigns. While it's true most of us do love free trials, As part of a 7-week design and research-led immersion, my team invested in a big bet for growth, as I mentioned, for Netflix in Japan, Korea, and India. And I'd like you to come with me on this journey on what we learned. So let's meet Sumiko, who's in Tokyo. And for her, when we introduced the idea of Netflix free trial, she was curious on why free? Is it not good enough? And when will they charge me? In Japan and for that particular audience, we realized that technological savviness and a certain quality for the shows they are watching or the cinema they're going to was very important, and they would be willing to pay for that. We brought the free value proposition to Rohini in Mumbai, India, and her doubtful question was, free trial? Well, why do you need my credit card then when I'm trying to sign up? We then took this value proposition to Jose in Buenos Aires, and he said, well, or the audiences there shared with us that we can watch free or paid because we share accounts. And for this particular audience, Netflix did have a place in their day-to-day life or their weekly quota for entertainment, because a lot of our content does meet their needs and motivations. And then we came back full circle to the countries like US or Canada or Australia and met with Paul, who, for him, the free trial was a very known parameter. He was aware that it was a 30-day and he could cancel anytime. He didn't have any concerns or issues with using his credit card either, because online shopping is a norm for many of these markets. What it became, this was a really interesting aha moment for my team when we realized that one size does not fit all when it comes to the value proposition in terms of how each customer responds to what is going to help them try a product, believe in the product, and then become an engaged customer. The trial motivation for each of these potential customers is different, and the measurable outcome to win their hearts and minds did need to be uniquely addressed. And that is what my team came away with. We as designers on the growth team need to meet our customers where they are. So what did we do? One of the very known practices on a growth team is what we call experimentation and incremental tests and even hacking. A growth team does need to step back and decide when does it make sense to continue doing incremental changes, launching experiments, launching things quickly to learn fast and fail fast, and when do we need to really step back and ask a deeper question, is this truly moving the needle? What is it that we need to do conceptually or in terms of our vision and approach so that we truly understand why this problem exists? So the slide you're seeing here captures some of the incremental tests we did at Netflix in terms of the primary call to action on the logged out homepage. We looked at the color and shape and visual design for the call to action button. We looked at various combinations for the copy. Content strategy, UX writing is a very strong partnership when it comes to being able to move metrics on a growth project, and really shouldn't be underestimated. But it wasn't moving the needle for us, especially with our customers in APAC. And that is also what prompted this 7-week design and research-led immersion for Netflix. From the research and from the customer feedback I shared with you, the team came away with reframing our problem statements. I have found this quote very recently by Bill Mogridge, a very esteemed and honored designer from IDEO, in terms of one of the most strategic thing any product team in partnership with PMs and design can do is to make sure that we are designing the right thing before spending a lot of time in designing it right. And this design and research-led immersion really allowed the team to reframe the problem statement so that we could really focus on the right problems we should be solving for. This initiative also helped shape the roadmap for the subsequent year and allowed the leadership team to understand whether we needed a specific APAC strategy for growth, or could we continue using the global strategy for Netflix subscriber base. Became very clear to us. As part of some of the experiments and hypotheses that the team came away with, as I mentioned, we had a deeper, larger roadmap, but one of the tests that we did launch was redesigning the Logdart homepage. And as you can see here, now there is a carousel for the titles and contents that are relevant to the particular market, because one of the things we heard from our audience was that they had no clue what to expect in terms of entertainment that they were interested in. The other thing that you notice on the right is a graphic, a very detailed information graphic that clarifies the notion of free trial and when the audience will be charged, depending on the monthly payment and cadence in their particular country. Our team also took this as an opportunity to negotiate with the messaging team and trigger an email 3 days prior to the day the customer will be charged to send a reminder that, hey, we hope you're enjoying your free trial. Within 3 days, your credit card will be charged. If you're not interested, we're happy for you to cancel, or not happy, but we understand that you need to cancel. And if not, your subscription will be continuing to a paid plan. And what you're seeing at the bottom left is the ways in which to add method of payment, and all our design solutions are done for web and mobile web. So I'll just pause here in terms of what we have caught up on so far, the history of growth, what growth means, what is product-led growth, and a case study to just exemplify for you the role human-centered design, qualitative research, content strategy plays in solving growth problems. One other key takeaway that came out of such an initiative is that it allows the cross-functional product team to create a roadmap in the voice of the customer, a user journey or a customer journey as a storyboard where you can see how this customer's life is improved with the value that the product experience is bringing to them. In this case, we mapped it for Rohini, who was one of our customers in India. And a lot of these strategies that we come up with, our goal is always to see where we can unify it, as opposed to creating custom solutions for every market or smaller segments of our user base. So just zooming back out, you might wonder, well, so how does design work with all these cross-functional entities within a product team? So just stepping back into the role design can play, I think about it as if product managers on the product team help define the target, the business metrics, and the what, and the engineering team helps us define how we're going to build things and the feasibility and design, the design team is uniquely positioned to ask the why. Sometimes even the why not. Why would the customer want this? Why would we want to invest in this feature versus something else? And these three sort of functions that really become the base of the triad do work very closely with qualitative research, data analytics, content strategy, QA, but all of us working towards a unified mission to address the customer motivation. Moving into the second part of what I wanted to share today in terms of leading design for growth teams, and just sharing with you all in my years of leading teams, leading design teams, what might be some of the levers that I can share with you to create sustained growth, both for your team members and for the business that you are tasked to be results driven. So we just looked at the role of human-centered design with a PM and an engineer, I first want to dive into the first tenet, which is the importance of the UX design process, even if you're solving a growth problem, and do not mistake it for hacking. There is a lot of value in hiring designers on your team that have a solid and strong understanding of the UX design methodology. And without getting into too much detail as part of this talk, I just want to give you a snapshot workflow on what do I mean by the UX design process. It normally starts with truly understanding who your customer is, understanding their profile, defining the core problems that the team needs to solve for, and you could be defining these problems using quantitative data or qualitative insights, that is research. Based on that, giving the team the time to create a vision or a North Star for what an ideal solution might look like, writing the hypotheses or the strategies you believe in that can help solve for this particular core problem, and then moving into the growth experimentation framework, which is creating design variants, launching tests, learning from the tests, and then obviously launching the beta version of the product, getting the results from those learnings, and then refining and staying aligned with the other cross-functional members of the business and the org. Because the product design team on growth doesn't work in isolation. It works very closely with the growth marketing team, the sales team, and the business stakeholders. So my first lever to share with you all is to trust the design process. You might wonder, as the title of this talk, on, so what is the difference between building the product versus growing the product? So building the product does design experiences across the product flow, from the core experience, the features, but the growing of the product really focuses on those areas that are impactful, like the sign up or registration or onboarding. Building the product, the team will be focusing on defining the product value, like the MVP. What is the core features and the purpose that we're creating this product? Does it have a product market fit? Growing the product is about connecting that value to the customers that have the most leverage. A team that's building the product will typically focus on shipping to launch and having it sort of be perfect and complete, but a growth team is normally very nimble and agile, and it ships to learn. So things are not necessarily perfect. We tend to be scrappy, and we are okay with getting a learning before we go and spend time in designing it right or designing it perfectly. Last but not least, the role of human-centered design when you're building a product is about creating minimally viable experiences. And something that I have come to realize is growing the product really should challenge the product design team to create maximum lovability for your product experience. That really is what drives retention and engagement in my experience. Let's come to the second lever that I want to share with you all. And this is one that I often see come up as questions in terms of when I'm hiring designers, when I'm building a growth team, what is it that I'm looking for? What does the hiring and interview process look like? And I'm still going to say that hiring members of the team, whether a product manager or a designer, that's really strong in their core craft is still non-negotiable. Knowing the craftsmanship, having the knowledge about product design or product management are key to the core shared vocabulary of the team. The one nuance in leading design for growth is understanding what it means to invest in the acumen or the aptitude for growth. And what do I mean by that? A strong designer on growth is someone who is systematic in their approach. As you've noticed, many of the experiments or case studies I'm talking about is a fine balance between the emotional side of design and the scientific side of conducting experiments. The second is for this designer to not shy away from being data informed, I'm not talking about being data-driven, can this designer blend quantitative insights and qualitative research to make informed decisions for the solutions? Can they create frameworks to help the decision making rather than hacking into reactionary solutions? The third aptitude for someone on a growth design team is their resilience. Because as you can see, growth is about experiments, and we have to be really okay with failure, which is part and parcel of us creating growth strategies. I have found this to be especially true for people from a graphic design, visual design background on growth teams, because those of us from that background come with pretty invested vision mood board, and it's a labor of love. It's also very effort intensive in creating these visually intensive design solutions. And then when they get tested, they may not resonate for a particular market or for the particular growth we need to see. So how might we hire someone who can grow into building a certain resilience where you have a North Star and a vision, but you're willing to test yourself into it or out of it? And last but not the least, one that is very important to me, both as a design leader and as someone who is helping products grow, helping products find more engagement in our customers' lives. For design to have the muscle to build, to negotiate for ethical decisions, being a voice for responsibility in UX and UI is a promise we need to make to our customers. To negotiate with business when designers have to introduce UI dark patterns in a way that it may increase the business bottom line, but is inherently a negative experience for our customers. So these four areas of focus is what I would share as our good criteria for when you're looking for someone to help build your growth design team. And the third lever to really consider is, again, a question I'm often asked. So how do we structure growth teams? Is it by geography or areas of impact or by function? It should be a little bit obvious by now that the charter for a growth team is pretty broad. Then there are times and in certain opportunities that we also have to go deep. That being said, the most successful growth teams are those that are organized by areas of impact. And as the growth strategy for the team evolves, these teams can be nimble and adjust the way in which they operate. So as opposed to being organized by feature sets or pages or components and geographical preferences, growth teams set up by areas of impact can be pretty successful. So here's just an example of how the growth team was set up at Pinterest, and it may have evolved. They had a focus on the triad with product engineering and design on activation, so bringing in customers to the Pinterest experience, giving them an overview of what Pinterest does. Then there is unauthenticated experiences before they sign up and give us their registration information. Pinterest clearly saw the need to double down on email and notifications as a growth strategy. And then last but not the least, they chose to keep one of the functions as a shared resource, which in this case is data analysts. It's a great strategy because their work should influence and impact all the other three pods on the growth team. And then the way we were set up at Netflix was one of the initiatives I collaborated with my head of product and head of engineering in terms of, given our charter for Netflix, how might we set up our growth team so that they can really be empowered and enabled to chart the course for each of these business areas that needed momentum. So as you can see, growth teams are cross-functional pods. And in this next slide, I want to share with you, if I were to just give you a framework, there are teams that are highly aligned and loosely coupled, and they're aligned around the vision for that particular growth initiative. And the cross-functional growthness could even be very scrappy, because many startups have to start with growth, 1 PM and half a designer. But as long as you're wearing these many hats, from a designer, engineer, researcher, which is qualitative insights, data giving you quantitative insights, and a PM, you are pretty well set up in terms of driving the growth initiatives after your product has found product market fit. Growth teams also tend to need expertise where they can design across channels. So depending on the experiment, you could be designing on web, mobile web, native apps. In the case of Netflix, we were also designing for TV or projections like with Roku. So that again feeds into the way in which you look for the expertise and skill set on a growth team. One more thing that I should really call out here, especially given the global international audience on this talk today, is a growth team is really one that is curious about global EQ and IQ. As we saw in the Netflix example, one size does not fit all. And in order for customers to truly connect with the value that your product needs to bring to them, we need to understand their cultural DNA, where they live, how they live, why this product will make a difference in their life. So I'd just like to recap some of the levers I am sharing with you all in terms of leading design for sustained growth is trust the UX design process, do the hard work, there's no shortcut, invest in the aptitude or acumen for growth, and then structure teams by areas of impact as opposed to features and geography. And to help solve for a balance between driving metrics and making sure that you're addressing customer motivation, some of these levers will help you in accomplishing sustained growth. So where are we today and what's next? The current trends and global situation, you and I know this, we're living it, truly are shaping our business and growth. These trends are shaping our society. This particular conference is now completely pulled off remote. How might this inform what growth strategies are needed for 2021? And how complex will our ecosystem continue to be? What are the demands we're going to have from our customers in terms of them seeing the value in these connected experiences? There are many monetization models and retention models already existing out there. And this is just a snapshot to give you all a sense of how a growth team indexes on what they're most accountable for, which is an organization's bottom line. So there's an ad model where you're growing the business by generating revenue by showing relevant content. There is a subscription model, which honestly is the present and the future of most businesses. Just calling out Atlassian, Netflix, Scribd, these are some of the products that lend themselves to a subscription model. So does Coursera. But how might we create value in recurring learning or recurring reading so that our customers want to pay us a monthly fee? And then, of course, there's a transactional model where I see the use case at a particular moment or situation in my day or week or month, and then I only pay at that moment in time. And then there is the freemium model where we introduce the growth strategy so that people can fully invest, check us out, get a taste of who we are, and then a moment in time, if they want to get more of us, we upsell them a paid plan, but we give them a certain plan where they can continue being part of our ecosystem, part of our customer base. And in order for these various retention and monetization models to continue competing, there is a point after which the complexity of our ecosystem will make it very challenging for every product and organization out there to connect with their customer. And so I do believe that the value of the product of the customers is going to become a key differentiator. and that growth teams will need to co-create the business value with their customers. And in this, human-centered design is uniquely positioned to be a core competency for businesses. Money and revenue and metrics in and of itself is not going to do the work. As I have been leading design for almost 12 plus years, and more specifically design for growth in the last 4 years, I have often questioned, what is the purpose of doing any business? And it wasn't too long ago that I stumbled upon this quote by one of India's most influential people, yogi mystic author known as Sadhguru. And he just brought it all together. And I thought it was a very important takeaway for any product service organization out there, that there is only one purpose for business in the world, and that is a human well-being. That is the bottom line and the key motivation for any of us to strive for as a product designer, a design leader, or a product manager. And with that, I hope I've been able to help motivate and inspire you in terms of product-led growth. Thank you very much for your time and joining me this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. You should be able to find me on Twitter at Chetana Deorah and on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, Chetana, for all of this information. Was great.
Thank you, Gabriela.
We are now going to open to some question and answers.
Sure.
So first one, where is it? Here.
And you're going to read them for me? Or should I just, you're going to read them? Okay.
Yeah, group design is a brand new area of product experience. What are the skills a designer has to develop to work on this position?
Sure. Thank you for your question, Jennifer. So, this question is most addressed in the second lever that I was talking about. A product UX designer who's not worked on growth still needs to be really strong in understanding how to define the problem, working closely with qualitative researchers, working closely with the data scientists. So I would say the 3 skills it's really important for a designer to develop is being data informed, being strong at defining the problem that needs to be solved, and being okay with an iterative approach to coming to the solution. And then last but not the least, is always a bonus if this designer is curious about the global EQ and IQ.
Gabriela Rocha, what are the main mistakes made by organizations when implementing the growth hacking and technique, and how to avoid them?
Sure, great question. So the nature of growth is such that any and every mistake made is considered a learning. It is from the learning and failures that we determine if our hypotheses or if the big bet or small bet that we're aiming for is going to drive the required growth or not. So I don't necessarily think about growth hacking or vision work on growth leading to mistakes. But one of the things I can tell you is, with the example of the Netflix case study, if you keep hacking the call to action button and you keep optimizing a specific tiny area of the user experience in order to move the metric, and you don't see the results, and you're not willing to step back and ask the deeper question, why is it that the result is not moving? That is probably one of the shortcomings of being in a hacking mode all the time. Then the second would be underestimating that the growth team really needs to be set up as a horizontal platform, really needs to be empowered to work with all the different vertical product teams, is another thing that most companies underestimate. The last is growth designers' work and projects tend to rarely see the light of day because it's not like a feature release or a core product release, but it is decisions that really move the needle. So as a growth leader, it's very important to evangelize what your growth team or growth design team is working on, not only for the morale, but also for the product teams to recognize that the value of what they are creating is being communicated by the growth team.
So now, I'm sorry for my pronunciation, but Kikishu, I'm curious what your advice is for doing growth design and work for enterprise products when the acquisition mechanism is very different.
That's a very nuanced and great question. Kiki, or however you say your name, my sincere apologies. One of the things I will add here, which I think is a good timing, is I have been facilitating conversations at the growthdesigners.co Slack community. I would highly encourage, for those of you who are interested in taking this conversation forward, to look that up and join the growthdesigners.co community, because this particular question about designing for growth in the consumer world and the enterprise world comes up a lot. Truth be told, both these product experiences has a customer at the end of the day. Even an enterprise product does have a customer profile at the end of the day. And so the thing that might be different is the way in which the metrics are measured, the way in which you get qualitative insights. Because if you're designing a product for something that is a very niche audience, like system analyst or a content management system, data operator, yes, it's not something like a Netflix where you and I can be our own customer. Other than that, I do believe you can extrapolate the enterprise product experience in terms of the acquisition to the customer profile and then start with that.
Great. Anyone else? Yeah. So I think we are going to finish this today. Thank you so much, Chetana, for today, for your lecture. I love it.
Yes, it's pretty intense, and this is so interesting to do this without knowing all of you and meeting all of you, but thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for watching us. This is the last lecture of today, and sadly tomorrow will be the last day of Talk UX 2020. Tomorrow we'll start with a panel, The Future of Ladies at UX. So take a look at our agenda and check in your local time. So that's all for today. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good evening.